got the bus back from the repairers a few days ago, and while I'm really happy to have the bus back and to be able to get on with things, it's been a very emotional and stressful few days since I've picked it up. And I think if I'd tried to make this video a couple of days ago, I probably would have ended up in tears. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you'll know that when I started to strip the inside of the bus, I discovered quite significant rust, especially in the rail that runs along underneath all the windows. The extent of the rust was quite significant, and it was going to require sections to be cut out and re-welded in. And that was just beyond my level of skill. So I decided that I had to pay someone professional to do those repairs for me. And I contacted a few of the big bus repair companies in Brisbane, and the cheapest quote I got was $27,000, which is just not even close to being possible for me. I did manage to find a bus repair company in Nambucca Heads in New South Wales, and the guy there estimated that he could probably do the repairs for $8,000 to $10,000, which was still a lot of money for me, but at least something that was within the realms of my budget. So I was originally planning to take the bus down there. I wasn't really keen on that idea because Nambucca Heads is 6 hours drive away from where I live. And I'm still getting used to driving the bus. So the idea of driving 6 hours down the M1 wasn't really very appealing. And I didn't like the idea of the bus being so far away while it was getting repaired too, because it just makes it so much harder if you want to, if you need to go in to check on things, or, if the repairer's got questions, they need to clarify things. It just makes it really hard if you're 6 hours away. But up until then, I hadn't found anyone else to do the job that I could actually afford to pay. And then I found out from someone I know personally, and also a couple of people in one of the bus groups that I'm in on Facebook, that there was actually a guy in my local area that did that sort of repair, which was good news because it meant that I didn't have to take the bus all that way. There was actually someone locally that could do it. So that's where the bus has been for the last couple of weeks, and they basically took out all the windows, took out all the walls off the sides of the bus, took out the rear emergency window at the back, and fixed up the rust in the frame. So they actually replaced the entire rail that runs the whole length of the bus under the windows. There's also a couple of sections in the lower part of the frame that were pretty badly rusted, so they cut out those sections, welded new steel in there, and then basically cleaned up the rest of the surface rust and painted it with a rust converter to treat any bits that were left. And I'm actually quite happy with the work that they did on the frame. I mean, I'm confident that the rust issues have pretty much been sorted out, which is good news. Unfortunately, they didn't do quite as good a job with the resheeting of the sides of the bus. So the bus walls were obviously removed to get to the frame to do the rust repairs, and new sheets of aluminium composite panel were put on up the sides. And there's a few issues with the way that it was done, which are not major, but they've caused a few problems. And it was just, when I first got the bus back, it was just really frustrating and annoying, given that I'd spent what is a lot of money for me on this job, and then to have issues like this. I was so upset and stressed out about what I was going to do, if I was going to try and fix it. At one point I just felt like ripping all the side panels off the wall and completely redoing it again myself. I was pretty upset. So the main issue is that normally when you put panels back onto the frame, the normal practice is that you align the joins between the panels with the uprights of the frame, and that way both panels, the ends are sticking to solid metal, and you've got a backing support there for the join, which just helps with the sealing to keep the water out, and it just makes it easier to seal up that join well. So that's what would normally happen. Now, the guy that did my repairs decided not to do that. He instead used the full length of the panels instead of cutting them to fit, so that they would align with the uprights. I'd expressed my doubts and concerns about this a few times before he actually got to that stage. And his argument was that using the full length of the panels, obviously you need fewer panels to begin with, so it's not as expensive. You don't have quite as many visible joins along the side of the bus. And he also said that using the factory edge of the sheets would mean it'd be a lot easier to get them to butt up more closely to each other, so you get a much neater seam. All of those are valid points. But, I still wasn't sure about, what happens if two panels meet in the middle of the gap in the frame where there's no post? And he assured me that would be fine, because he could get, strips of that same panel material and adhere them to the back of the join so that the joins would be supported. And he actually showed me how he was going to do it. So he convinced me that it would be fine. And I think if the joins, were all nicely backed by another piece of panel, it would be totally fine. The problem is, in the end result, only some of the joins have been finished that way, and it's pretty much just some of the joins in the black panels on the tops that cover the window section. So those joins have been backed by the strip of panel, which is good, but the white panels covering the lower sections of the frame, the joins haven't been backed by anything, and so a lot of them, the only thing holding those two joins together is the line of sealant up between them, which I am not happy about, because in a moving bus you've got lots of things flexing and a lot of vibration, and over time that sealant is going to fail, and then you've got a join that that isn't fully sealed, and water can get in. And I've just spent $8,000 on rust repairs. The last thing I want is for water to be able to get in. That was my biggest concern right from the beginning. So I was really cheesed off about that, and really upset. And the other issue was that there were gaps in the sealant that he had put over the joints. So, some of the sealant hadn't been properly applied, and it just hadn't sealed the gap at all. There was daylight visible in sections. One of the joints, he'd actually completely missed one section putting sealant in. So, it was completely not sealed at all. And if you push hard enough with your finger, you could actually separate the panels. So, that's not the least bit watertight. So anyway, I had a few days to think about it and to really, look over the bus. And I spoke to some people very knowledgeable and whose opinions I respect. And, if I had a lot of money, I would rip all the panels off and start again with new panels, and I would put them on, properly aligning the joins with the uprights, and I'd use high quality sealant, But for me to do that, one, I think it would be doable. It would be a bit tricky because I've not done anything like that before, but I think I could do it. But the biggest problem is that it would be quite expensive to buy a whole new set of panels. It would probably cost me at least $1,500, maybe a bit more, because you'd need quite a lot of sealant and adhesive and stuff as well. So, it's another big expense on top of the money I've already spent, and it would be a big job, and it's a bit drastic to rip it all off and redo the whole thing. That's what I've initially felt like doing, but after speaking with a couple of guys, I've sort of been reassured that if I can go along and put backing strips, like he's done for some of the joins, if I can go along and do that for every join that I can access, and then just plaster the gaps and all the seams, everything I can see with high quality Sikaflex, then I've been reassured that it should be okay. Obviously it's not ideal. It's not the way I would have wanted to do it. But, I think it'll be okay. And it's At this stage, it's a better option than, you know, completely ripping it all off and starting again and spending more money when I'm already sort of just about running out. And, you know, for the most part, I mean, the wall panels from the outside, they look great. I mean, they're all seem to be stuck on fine. Most of the joins are okay. It's only like a few that are really bad with the gaps. And, you know, that's an easy fix with a bit of sealant. I'm sure there's going to be more gaps and leaks that I discover with this bus down the track anyway. So, yeah, so it was just a bit upsetting at first because, you know, I had hoped that I would get, you know, a nice, perfectly sealed bus back from the repairer, and that didn't happen. But, you know, I did get a bus that's in a lot better condition than it was a few weeks ago. I mean, the rust is gone. You know, and the leaky windows are out, and yeah, so, and it looks really good. So after all that, let me show you what the bus looks like now. The panels have still got the protective plastic film over the top of them, which is why you can see all this writing, so just ignore that for now. I'm going to be taking that off very soon to clean up the joins and fix up the sealant and so on. So that will all be coming off, and I'll be peeling back the film on the black panels a little bit as well just to fix up the seams. But I'm actually going to leave the film on the black panels as much as possible until the windows go in, because it'll help to protect them from scratches from tools and things when I'm cutting the holes for the windows. So I'll try and keep that film on for as long as possible and just take the white stuff off for now. I'm actually glad I went for the black panels on top. The reason I did that was because I wanted to try and keep the bus look as much as possible. I really don't like the look of modern motorhomes that are sort of all white the whole way up the sides with randomly sized windows plugged in amongst it. I don't like that look as much as the traditional bus look, so I wanted to keep that as much as possible. And my thought was that if I put glossy black panels along the top, like covering the window sections, then, you know, it would help just to create the feeling that there are just still big tinted windows the whole way along the length of the bus. I'm not exactly sure how it'll look when I do plug my smaller RV windows into that area, but hopefully it won't look too much different from what it does now, and I think it's actually done a good job of keeping the bus look, so I'm really happy I did that, even though it was a little bit more expensive to use the two different colours. Also, I realised that the white of the panels is not the same as the white that's on the rest of the bus body. I'm not too concerned about that because eventually when I finish building the bus, before I hit the road, I'll be giving it a full paint job anyway. So hopefully once that bottom half of the bus is painted, you won't notice the, you know, the difference between the panels and the rest of the body quite so much. Around the back of the bus you can see, I also got them to take out the rear emergency window because it was leaking pretty badly, and I don't actually need a window in the back of the bus because I plan to build shelves all across the back of my studio in that spot. So they took the window out and covered it with the same black aluminium composite panel that's on the sides. So it actually still looks like there's just a really heavily tinted window in the back, which is good. I quite like that. So this is what the inside looks like now. There's actually no openings at all now inside the bus except for the driver's window and the front door. So it's quite dark and it's also really hot, especially in the middle of the day. So I need to try and get to the stage of putting some windows and roof hatches in as soon as possible because summer is coming and it's going to be just unbearable to work in here unless there's a few windows installed. You'll notice too that the original bus roof hatches have gone. I got the repairer to remove those because they were both leaking quite badly, and he covered over the hole in the roof with a fiberglass panel, which is hopefully well sealed. Time will tell. But yeah, so both of those roof hatches have gone, and I'm planning to install my exhaust fans in there. I'm going to get two top of the range RV exhaust fans, and I'll put them into the holes where the roof hatches used to be. I also got the repairer to remove these things that were on the side of the bus. I'm not sure if you saw in one of my previous videos, there were two metal boxes attached to the ceiling in this area, and they were connected directly to a vent in the roof. And I did try to remove one of them pretty early on when I was stripping the inside of the bus, and I just gave up because even after I took all the rivets off that were holding it on, it was pretty well glued in there, and it was also continuous with part of the fiberglass cover on the roof, so I didn't want to muck with it and rip a hole in my roof. Fortunately, the repairer was able to just cut it off, and again has covered up the holes with fiberglass panels, so they've been sealed. And it also means that now those big bulky boxes that were hanging from the ceiling have gone, so it's not going to impede the furniture and bathroom, like shower module and things that I wanted to put directly under them. I'm feeling a lot better about it now than I was a few days ago, and I've calmed down. And yes, I'm not going to rip all the walls off and start again. I'm just going to patch up what I have as best I can and move on with the rest of the build.